Okay, I am calling to order the governing council meeting for the master's program on January 21st. It is officially 5:08 p.m. So welcome everybody and Happy New Year. Okay, let's start with a roll call. Okay, Catherine,
Here.
Karen,
Here.
Fred, I don't see. Dorianis, no. Lisa was here. Are you here, Lisa? Linda?
Here.
Stephanie?
Here.
And am I missing anybody? I think that is all we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 present, which we have a quorum, so we can proceed. Just a reminder that per New Mexico statute, this meeting is being recorded and the recording will be made publicly available on our TMP website. First order, or the second order of business is to approve the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look over the agenda, and are there any changes we need to make before proceeding?
I move to accept the agenda.
Okay, got moved by I heard Karen first and a second by Catherine.
Sure.
Okay, those approve with the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the agenda is approved. Okay, item number 3, discuss and vote on the December 10th Governing Council regular meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look over the packet and those minutes?
I have some edits.
Okay, Karen?
So on number 5 on the second page,
Mhm.
I'm not listed, but there is a CA that I think maybe that's me. It should be
Probably is.
CA
Okay.
on both votes because I was there and I did vote.
I'm sure that's what it is.
And then on item 10, under open discussion, I had asked some questions about the Karen James PED complaint, and they're not reflected in the minutes.
Mhm. I don't know if we have, I certainly don't have specific notes on that. Do you recall specifically what question you had?
Yeah.
The meeting notice said 3:13. I was there. The minutes say 3:17. I came over here. I can't find it.
So we're on Zoom. You're over at the college?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's a Zoom only.
Well, I don't know if it's only. You might just go to Kelly's office. Let me tell him you're there. Hold
Yeah,
on.
tell him I'm in room 472. You can just join me here.
He's in room 472. Is that correct, Kelly?
Yes.
Yeah, just head over there. You know where the nursing school is?
Is that upstairs? Because I'm down on where it said 3.
Yeah, it's on the main floor. Go to the far northeastern part of the campus near the whale.
Okay. The room number is 427. Is that correct?
472.
I'm sorry. Say it again.
472.
472.
Yes.
Okay. I'm on my way.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, we'll see him shortly. So yeah, Karen, could you clarify the specific questions that you would want entered into the record?
Yeah, I asked why there were no attachments to the document, that the complaint that we received, although there are attachments referred to in it. And also asked about the status of it. And the answer was that it's with the lawyers.
Right, and so if something is like pending if there is something that's with the lawyers, it probably shouldn't be discussed in a public meeting.
I think we're just gonna reflect that the questions were asked in the record. So. Would that be appropriate if we amend the record, Karen, to say that you asked about the PD complaint, Karen James complaint about the attachments and its current status? Okay, we can amend that. Any other changes? Okay, I'm sorry, Karen?
I don't have any others.
There were
Okay.
some comments that bars weren't approved. We didn't have any financials in the December meeting.
Yep, that's correct. But some of those bars were submitted in November and they're just not on the minutes. So we're just gonna approve them again
Yeah.
so that we can list them on the minutes. That's all.
Okay, so then I'm seeking a motion to approve the minutes as amended, changing those initials from CA to KA. And then also including Karen and Aubrey's questions about the PEV complaint. Why were there no attachments and what the current status is. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Who is that? Karen? Okay. And a second?
Second,
Catherine? Okay. Okay, to approve the draft minutes as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, the draft minutes as amended are approved. Okay, do we have any public comments? Okay, I'm hearing no public comments, so we will move on to item 5. President's comments. So I just have a few things to say. I don't have a written report once again, but want to welcome you all back. Happy New Year. I hope you all had a wonderful break and recovered well, spent wonderful time with family and friends. I know it was much needed time off for me. But it's good to be back, and there's certainly a lot of excitement around the college and TMP. I've seen the students come back. I've seen some faculty on campus from TMP, and the energy is really high. And we have apparently about 6 or so new students. Is that correct, Carla?
Yes, I'm sorry. Monica just joined us. I guess she would have the hot off the press number.
Oh, there you go.
My understanding. Monica, do you know how many exactly made the decision to actually enroll this semester?
We have 5 new ones.
5, okay.
Everyone.
Yep,
That's
thank
good
you.
to hear. I know that we all received an update regarding the governing council training status. There were several of us that were a little bit short on that, so I just wanted to remind you all to either do the in-person training or the Canvas-based training. Newbies have, I'm sorry, Catherine?
I did do it and I reported that and it doesn't reflect it. So that was a disappointment, but I will follow up because I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is Lisa, and I tried to do it over the holidays, but I wasn't able to because I wasn't registered for it. And so, I followed up with Laura Brown. and
Right.
I've done 4 of the 5 now. I just
Oh.
have to do.
She told us, because I also had trouble getting in, spent weeks trying to get in. And so finally Lisa just said, go ahead and do it. And then notify me when you've completed the modules and which ones, and then I will mark you in as having done that. So I did them, I notified her, but it hasn't shown up. And so maybe she's just behind in her getting things, but I'll remind her, that I'm not the only one.
Okay. And I think, let's just set a goal for the next meetings. That we'll be able to say that we're all caught up and we've all done the training. There's some really wonderful information
Yeah,
actually
it's good
in the training.
information.
So it's really well worth the time. It's not too painful. So, yeah, finish it up when you get a time and when you have the time for new members, there's about 11 hours worth of training that you have to go through. And it really doesn't take 11 hours, but they say 11 hours. And for the returning council members, the renewal is just 5 or 6 hours, I believe.
Do 'em, because
I'm sorry, Lisa? Okay, I didn't catch that.
I wasn't even able to do them because I couldn't even access them.
Okay, well, we'll just,
She'll help you with
So,
that.
I
Yeah.
can help
when I
you
followed-
do that
yeah,
and I can help
when
you
I followed up with-
contact. And I
There-
can contact to be sure that you have access to it.
Yeah, so I know she said. No, I was not even.
Your audio is very spotty, Lisa, for some reason, so we're only catching bits and pieces. Sam says that they can contact the charter schools. Is there anyone? Well,
Okay,
I lost the chat. Let's see. Anyone else who needs to be registered? Let me see if I can find the update and see who was still short at the last notification. Second. The last notification I got, which was on January 7th of this year, Lisa still needed all of her 6 hours or 5 hours. Darianis was good. Fred was good. Karen is good. Catherine needed her hours, but it sounds like she's gotten that care of. So it's really the 2 newest members, Linda and Stephanie. Have you tried to log on to the Canvas site?
Yes, I've done a little bit of them, so I'll make
Okay.
sure and get those done.
Yeah,
by
I'll
the
get
end of
them
the
done.
month.
Awesome. Thank you both. I appreciate it. So we'll shoot for the next governing council meeting to be, on par with our required training. Other than that, I have nothing else for the president's comments. Moving on to item 6, report of the head of school.
I added a couple of agenda items, but other than that, I don't have much else. We don't have faculty or student reports. It's a little bit early in the semester. We just got back. But I do have a couple of agenda items and I can talk about that.
Which agenda items are those?
We're gonna vote on the mission specific goal process and the flags.
I don't see those on the agenda. Did they not make it to the agenda?
Dorianis confirmed they did, so if not,
Well, since we have you on the agenda as a report of head of school, why don't we address those under that heading?
well, one of them we have to vote on, the other we is more informational. I had shared earlier in the month, the draft of the mission-specific goal that is going in, for feedback. And it can be amended. So I think it's important that, Sam says you don't have to vote on it, but so that's good. So I just wanted it on the agenda. So if it's just on the, so Sam, as for okay, so Sam wanted it on the agenda for information, not for a vote. Thank you for that clarification. But it was supposed to go on the agenda, so I'll just use it in my report. So I will,
It is on-
I will resend it to you if you haven't seen it. But I'm not going to go over it because it's lengthy and there's a lot there. But I'm happy to answer questions next month. And then I have been talking to faculty and staff about the New Mexico law around having the United States flag and New Mexico flag in each classroom. And so we're in a process of talking about that. It is a law, and so we'll order those. However, the pledge is something that needs to be a governing board policy. So at some point, the board will do some, hopefully, investigation and exploration and create a policy around how we pledge allegiance to the flags.
So
There you have it. It's pretty exciting. That's about it for me.
is the Pledge of Allegiance required?
It's up to interpretation. And I have the copies of the statutes that I can share with you. I think Dan can share them with you as well. And then you can have a robust and interesting conversation about how you those statutes. I think having the flags in the classroom is a little bit more clear and less controversial. I also involve Student Leadership Council in on that, and at some point sooner rather than later, I'll talk to increasing number of staff. It's just something that the school has never done. And I feel like because of the law in New Mexico, which is not in every state, we have to address it, and we will. So it's all good.
So a follow-up question. So is this a Pledge of Allegiance that is said once at the beginning of the day, or is it every single time the students get together for a class, they have to say it?
So Catherine, that's something that can be interpreted by the board and create a policy about how you would like to do it. And there's also the New Mexico Pledge in Spanish, which is also required. So that is something that after all of you research it and look at what the law is and make a decision, I will be happy to operationalize it.
Carla, could you send me those statutes
I will.
or just send me the numbers?
Yeah, I will do that.
So are we going to put this on the agenda for next month, or do we want to discuss it more now?
Let's put it on the agenda so we all have time to look at the statutes until over the month. And we can talk about it. Okay, so there's nothing to vote on then, probably at this point.
Oh, that's good. And if you cannot find the document that I shared with the mission specific goals, then let me know and I'll reshare. I can reshare it anyway.
Okay. I'm just making note. Okay, do we have any of our student representatives here? I guess they didn't come in today, so I don't know if they'd be online or not.
No, I think I mentioned that in my report early on. The faculty rep does not have anything this month, but we'll have something next month around grading policies. And we're having a turn, not turnover, but I guess yeah, maybe it's a turnover. We're having a changing of the guard for students, and you'll see them probably next month.
Wonderful. Okay. So then we're moving on then to item number 9, report of the treasurer and business manager. So the finance committee report. I think, so our new treasurer, as you remember from last time, will be Linda Pena. Lisa Schwade joined the finance committee meeting on Friday with myself, Linda, and Katie Rarick. And I think Lisa is going to give us an overview today to help show Linda the ropes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yep.
Okay, so, the finance committee met on January 17th, and we reviewed the TMP financial report for both, the December 2024 and the November 24 financials through December 31st, 24. And the committee did not detect any irregularities. The cash balance as of December 31st was $3.519 million. We have a strong fund balance of $2 million and we're drawing down the fund balance, which is good. And that's a healthy balance and where we should be at the end of the year. Let's see. So as far as our December 2024 disbursements, as I mentioned, our cash balance was $3.519 million. And our December 2024 activity was $154,699. We basically reviewed some of the higher some of the payments and got clarification on them. For that, there were no accounts payable over $20,000. There are no that we need to approve today. So I believe the only thing we have at this point is there was a request to reapprove two budget adjustment requests, also referred to as BARs. And I'm trying to locate them right now because I downloaded them.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
It's 5 IB.
Yeah, I
You
have
have them? Okay.
right now. It was for the budget period of 7/1/24 to 6/30. Hold on, just trying to figure out. Do you want to go through that? I'm trying to scramble through this, and I'm not doing a very good job.
No, you're fine. So these were sent out in the packet. There's 5 IB, which is the the IDEA B funding, which is your federal special ed funding. And so this is we use this on our special education program and specifically on our special education teachers. And that was for the amount of $75,470. And then the other one is 007I. And this is your capital outlay funding for your lease reimbursement. And so this comes from the PSFA, which Public Schools Finance Authority. And they give us a chunk of money to pay for our lease. And so it's the total for this one is $164,423. And 6 got it, or 6 was in the notes from November. And so that one you guys approved and we made a note of it. These two, I think we have approved, but I just want them in the minutes because that's what the auditors will check.
Another whole point.
Do you need a motion?
Yes, for both of them.
Is
And for
there
your financials.
problem, any need for discussion? Kelly, what do you think?
If there's no need for discussion, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the 2 bars as presented. So moved.
I have a question about the bars.
Mm-hmm.
Are they supposed to be approved before the money's allocated?
Yes, and they are. So we don't have any of this money yet. You guys have to approve them, and then I have to submit the paperwork, and then they send us the funds. So we get award letters saying how much we're going to get, which is where these numbers come from.
Uh-huh.
And then I create the bars, and then you guys approve it, and then we reimburse for it.
So moved.
Second,
Your motion, seconded by Catherine. Okay, to approve the 2 bars as discussed, signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the bars are approved. Okay, anything else from the Finance Committee?
I have a question.
Mhm.
So do we keep this significant amount of excess funds in a savings account?
No, so they're public funds, and so with public funds come very specific rules, and so you're not really allowed to make money, with public money. We could put it in a very low yield savings account. But other than that, it has to be liquid at all times. So,
Well, it is liquid in a savings account. You can take it out whenever you want.
right. So we could do that. We could just create a savings account in Wells Fargo and move it over. But we can't like put it in a bond or something.
No, just a savings account. So where is it now?
It's just in it's in a non-interest bearing account, which is what PED asks all schools to set up.
Okay, and where is that account?
Wells Fargo.
So
Okay,
we're not allowed to put it in a money market account, which is liquid.
No, not unless you want to have a different policy, which the board will monitor. So APS has that. And APS has a committee of 6 or 7 people that monitors this money at all times. And so if the board was willing to take on the fiduciary responsibility of managing that money, then you could do it with significant policies, because you don't ever want to lose money.
So the previous board looked into that very carefully, and it looked, just to give you a summary, it looked like it was more trouble than it's worth. I think the easiest scenario would be, as you suggested, to find another interest-bearing account, savings account.
Like a savings
But
account.
it's not much percentage. It's not a lot of money. So I don't know if it's worth it or not, but if we wanted to do that, we could change the policy and do that.
well, I'm not suggesting that there be a change. I just wanted to understand how the money was being tracked and managed. And
Yeah.
if we're happy with what we have at Wells Fargo, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. But if there's an advantage to having it, move in some way, then perhaps that's a lot of money, $3 million. So, that's the only reason for the question, just curiosity.
I actually have to talk to the bank anyway to get Linda on the account. So
Mhm.
when I do that, I can see how easy or hard is it to set up a savings account attached to your other account. So we're not going to like open a new account. We're just adding a savings account to it. And see what they ask there, because you're right, we could put, we're projecting to end the year around $2 million because we are trying to spin this down,
Yeah.
but we could put $1 million in savings at least.
Well,
And-
is there any advantage to doing that? I'm not, I don't want to just make work for people.
You get a very small amount on interest, like 1% maybe,
That's
depending on the
still,
savings. But yeah,
Find another bank.
$1 million.
Karen, we can't hear you.
We need to find another bank if Wells Fargo's only paying 1%.
I don't
Well,
know.
isn't there, what's this rule that the state doesn't let us use the money to make money, which seems kind of silly, but that may be the policy. So how much are we allowed to use these funds and let them accrue to some benefit.
Yeah, it seems to me like we ought to have an interest-bearing operating account, Which I-
Right.
which Wells Fargo has, instead of a non-interest-bearing operating account.
Mhm.
I think if we're gonna go down that route, we probably ought to have that as a separate agenda item and time for the board to consider it and more information than we've got tonight.
So am I the only person who's curious about this? I can let it go.
No, it
No.
was, when I first came on the board half a year ago, it was a active conversation then. I think the very first board meeting I attended, it came up as an issue for the same reason that you're asking, Catherine. I mean, if you, $3 million, you know, 1% of $3 million is not insignificant. I mean, it's not just a rounding error. And I would say that Katie already said she'll ask Wells
Yeah.
Fargo if they can do better for us than this. I don't think that requires a policy change. We're not wheeling and dealing. We're not
No, no.
Well,
buying potato futures or something. It's just a matter of where we keep our money in the bank, and if Wells Fargo should be able to give us a modest interest-bearing operating account. So, Katie, if you can check it out for us,
Yeah.
let us know, then we can take an action if it requires a vote for us to move it from one account to the other. If it doesn't require a vote and it's not a true policy change, then let's just do it.
So
I'm looking right now, Wells Fargo currently has a 7-month special fixed rate CD. If you have a relationship with them, which we already do, it's 3.93%.
Well, but
I think Katie already stipulated that it has to be liquid, so we couldn't tie it up for 6 months.
you'd need a money market or interest-bearing checking or a savings account. And keeping in mind that if we've got $3 million in Wells Fargo Bank, that's over the FDIC.
Yeah, so we might want to split it into 3 different accounts.
That's a great point.
No, in the accounts doesn't help you. You'd have to have 3 different banks.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
You all have a thing called pledge collateral because the state of New Mexico requires it. So 250,000 is covered by FDIC, but the rest is insured through the pledge collateral through Wells Fargo. So that's if we just tacked on a savings account to your checking account, that wouldn't be a problem. They'd insure the whole thing. If we went to a different account or something, that we'd have to establish pledge collateral there too.
Yeah. So my more serious question is and thank you, Katie. I really, really appreciate your engagement and expertise. You alluded to that there were some, excuse me, policy limitations from the state level about how much interest you would be allowed to put on an account for the accrual of, some benefit. What is that 1%? Is that 3%? How much will they allow us to have in an interest-bearing account?
And that I don't know. And so that I need to go ask Antonio because it does change what the state regulations are, what their guidance is.
Sure.
I have another school and they make like $700 a year, and that is okay. That doesn't seem to bother anyone off of like whatever they have a healthy fund balance, but I think if we're going to make a ton of, there are limitations. So I have to go ask Antonio what new guidance is.
Yeah. And there's no urgency on this. I think this is just part of taking care of business in my mind. Yeah.
And the rest of the board's right. We've talked about this on and off, and it's gone on and off my radar. So I'll follow up with it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, anything else from the Finance Committee?
No. Unless anybody has any questions.
No, hearing no questions. I don't think there's anything to report from the audit committee. The audit still is not public. So we have
And-
nothing to report there.
I think if it's public in February, then that's what we'll be doing during this meeting next
Yeah.
time. is the audit. So I'll let you all know when it becomes public.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and there were no purchase orders to approve, you said, Lisa, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we're good. Item 10, oh, it was here, Carla, I missed it. Discussion of mission specific goals and rubric for contract negotiation.
Bye, y'all. I'll see you guys next month. Email me if you have
Katie,
questions.
before,
or need
before
anything.
you go, will you check that out with Wells Fargo for us and let us know?
Yeah, I have it on my list. So when I email about Linda, I'll email that too.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, just to close that, I mean, 1% of $3 million is $30,000.
$30,000.
That's
That's-
right.
That's, I don't consider that.
That's a chunk of change.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So items 10 and 11, we've already talked about. Carla's sharing, that information with us so we can have a better discussion next time around. But that includes the flag, the pledge of allegiance, and the mission specific goals and the rubric contract negotiation. We should spend some time this month going over those documents so we can have a discussion next time around.
May I just say something quickly? So Carla and I have been working quite a bit on the contract negotiation. I think Dorianis may have put this on the agenda for me to give a brief update just on
Okay.
where we are in terms of the negotiations. And so Carla and I have been working quite hard on finalizing the documents. We met last week to go over the mission specific goal template for the school and have revised the goal slightly, which you will review. And we've been working on the other documents associated to negotiations. And just a reminder that the negotiations will take place on February 13th. And Kelly, if you're able to be there, it's usually it's important for the chair to be there. And if you can't be there, then maybe just send someone else in your place. There isn't anything like particularly controversial that the school's proposing in terms of its negotiations. It's all very straightforward, and so it shouldn't take a very long time. But it would be great if you could be there. And that's on the 13th at 11 at Mabry Hall.
Fab, when you say it's a negotiation, with whom?
With TED
With a that's an excellent question. It's a negotiation with a subcommittee of the Public Education Commission.
And they call it a negotiation rather than an agreement or something because it's a give and take. I mean, I'm just curious about it.
Little bit of a give and take, and it's a give and take in the sense like they will review the school's mission specific goal document, and I'm not giving you exact numbers right now, but this is just like a hypothetical. They may say you're proposing that a meet standard for your mission specific goal is 70%. Well, we would want it to look something more like 75%. You know, so it's a little bit of a back and forth in terms of logistics. What the school proposes, they're likely going to accept with just minor tweaks.
I see. So this seems important. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's just check off by the board that the mission specific goals. And I think, again, my understanding is that the board hasn't really looked at this in a concerted way for many years. And it fundamentally answers the question, why do we have this school? What is this school for? And boy, if there's board business, this seems dead center to why we have a board.
I think you're going to be quite pleased, Carla. I feel like that is 100% the lens through which she is, working to draft and write this goal.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to send the negotiation draft documents for you to all look over.
Thank you.
Just so you
I'm
can.
less, I'm less worried about Carla. I'm less worried about Carla than us.
Yes.
I mean, I think we're not, we're not doing, I want us to do what we should do in terms of being really informed and supportive of the mission-specific goals, as opposed to, we have mission-specific goals. What
Yeah,
are
like, well, what is it? Well, and those are something, we can talk about during the retreat, like getting updates and reports during your annual calendar, I think is also really important. And do you meet the second Tuesday? I don't even know what day. It's the third, you meet the third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday.
Okay. And so there will be a little bit of a disconnect between when the board meets again and when the negotiations will take place, but I'll still send all the documents for you all to review.
Great.
I can have that to you by the end of this week, and you can
Thank you.
just look it over. And if you have any comments or questions, please ask.
Thank you.
And by the way, Fred and I did meet with Carla briefly
Yeah.
about and discuss some of these things. And, one thing that came out of that conversation was the need that these goals be data driven and, something measurable,
Mhm.
and meaningful, right? Not just some esoteric goal, but something that we can actually measure and see improvement upon
And
over the
realistic
years.
as well,
Yeah,
what we're capable of doing. I think
100%.
because I attended the PEC meeting when we got renewal, it was a significant conversation there. And they were very supportive of the direction that Carla's going.
Well, yes.
And I thought that was terrific, to make that more realistic, more appropriate, and serve our students better, which seemed right.
100%. And I think that conversation during the PEC meeting is absolutely what is informing the goal that's based on excuse me, a demonstration of college and career readiness.
Readiness, yeah.
The documents are with PED right now for review to just make sure that it looks good on their end. And then I should have them back by sometime this week, and I can get them to you as soon as I have them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
So Sam, I just have one more little question, and I'm
Yep.
sorry I have so much to know. So we set these goals and we have a metric that we follow to, give us guidance of how we go through the year. Are we meeting them, and where might we pay more attention? Does that happen from the PED, that consistent review that,
Yes.
we need by this quarter, we should be here, so that you don't get to kind of the end of a period of time and say, oh my God, it got away from us, or we didn't realize that something happened and we aren't going to meet this goal. Is there a consistent process? And Carly, you probably do this automatically, but as we look at the goals in an ongoing way, to just, kind of make sure that it's on track, that we haven't had any big stumbles, or if we do, then do we need to report that back to the PED and say, well, we may not meet this goal because of thus and so?
That's an excellent question. And the answer is yes and no. And so it really depends on how the goal is written. I will say right off the bat that during annual monitoring, CSD, Charter Schools Division, asks for an update, like a data-driven update on where the school is in terms of where it's landing and on its rubric related to its mission-specific goals. And so that happens once a year. In terms of how the school tracks its goal, it really depends on how the goal is written. Sometimes it's something that's happening annually. Sometimes it's something that's happening 3 times per year. Sometimes it's happening quarterly. And so it really is like that falls on the responsibility of the school. And then I'll take it one step further and say, once we have the goal ironed out, then that's when the governing council says, okay, so master's program is going to review its, like, let's say, for example, it's quarterly. That's when you would put quarterly on your board calendar. You would request an update from the head of school to say, where are we in relation to meeting our mission specific goal?
That's great. Thank you so much. That's exactly what I was interested in.
Yeah, you bet.
And Tina added to the chat, by the way, that there's a platform where they're going to be able to track the data as we go along. So thank you for mentioning that, Tina. That'll be something that we can all keep tabs on.
Yeah. And it's not for any purpose of oversight. It's just partnership, to really be there in case, there needs to be a shift or something needs to be understood. So thank you, Tina. We'll look forward to that.
Well, actually, what I wanted, my 2 cents is that it actually is oversight. And so I
Yeah.
think that, I mean, you know how I feel about this is that the board holds me accountable for that. I mean, we're a public school and this is public funds. And so the fact that there's a possibility that the mission specific, there was a little confusion about the mission specific goals from the board standpoint was a little bit of a concern of mine. We have a new board, and that's one of the reasons why I brought it up. And I said, you have to hold me accountable to this mission specific goal. So I appreciate your kindness in saying that you're partnering with me. However, I'm fine with you supervising me and holding me accountable for doing my job. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments on this? Okay, moving on to report from committees. Is there anything from the Governance and Policy Committee we need to discuss today? Dorianis isn't here, but Karen, Catherine, was there anything?
Well, Doriana sent out the draft bylaws
Right.
for everyone's review. I haven't seen any comments on them or questions.
I sent you. Oh, okay.
Fred's question about the title of the head of school, whether it was headmaster, head of school, or superintendent. It's headmaster in the existing bylaws. I mean, that's just what it is from 2009.
Which I think we have to change.
Which I think we need to change, but whether we want to change it to head of school or superintendent or something else, I think the board needs to weigh in on.
What's the forum for that discussion? Because it has, as I said in my note, it has significant implications structurally and practically for how the school is run.
I had understood that with some changes that Carla made, she was the superintendent and there were 2 co-principals under her.
Yes.
So if that's the structure, then that's probably what she ought to be called, right?
I think that's right. I just wondered, do we need a further understanding? I think at our offsite, I'd really like to see us talk about how the school works. And it's also an opportunity probably to think about, we've had this proposal for expansion of the school, or it's at least been mentioned, to include lower grades. And those are serious considerations. I'd love for us to put our heads together because I'd really like to hear what everyone thinks.
So remember, we did form a subcommittee
Yes.
last time
Yeah.
to look more into that. And, I think that's a long way off, but it's important that we research it now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and just as a point of curiosity, which seems to be my theme tonight, my understanding, having worked in higher ed, was usually a superintendent is over multiple schools. So, and you have a principal of a school. So, it's fine with me that we have 2 principals, but I don't know if they have different job descriptions or
They
if
do.
it, yeah.
They
And
do.
So
And
Catherine,
also-
all of that
also what's-
information has been provided.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are
What's-
job descriptions. And there are many schools in different places in the United States, and I think there's also some here in the state that are function as a district or an LEA, and that is why the state calls me a superintendent, and other people call. It's not always about the number of schools or number of students. It has to do with how that particular entity is structured, and the master's program is structured as its own LEA.
Yeah, we
that's
are a district. we are a school district, which makes,
Okay.
it's
And
kind of
how it,
weird.
and
yeah.
how it reports to the PED and the
Yeah.
PPC is very specific, so
Right, right.
just like a district.
Okay.
Just Karen, on a point, I also did send you comments, a ton of comments about the rest of the bylaws. I don't know if you got that.
Those. Could you resend them, Fred?
Okay, I will.
That'd be great.
So let's make it a point to get some feedback to that committee for the next meeting. So we can, hopefully close that in. Okay, board training retreat committee, is there anything to discuss?
I know Doriana's put out as a calendar request, and
Mhm.
I hope everybody weighed in.
I did talk in my comments before you got here about
Oh.
our individual council
Oh, good.
member trainings and make a point of having that completed by next meeting. So I think we're in good shape with that.
Well, everyone responded on dates for the retreat.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I responded to that. I don't know the results of that.
I
though.
haven't heard from Doriana how it shook out.
When I put mine in, it looked like we're headed toward March.
March, okay.
Okay,
But I don't know I think there were still people who needed to weigh in.
I'll make a note to myself to touch base with Doriana on clarifying the dates so that we can all pencil that in. Block it off on our calendars.
Kelly, can you make sure that I'm I think I'm attending that retreat, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
March is, spring break is the last week of March. I'm not even, ordinarily I wouldn't be, I could be available. I have a son who has a big award, I'm very proud to say, and I am going to go to Florida to witness his award.
oh, all right.
So that would, excuse the expression, trump any kind of retreat that I would go to. So I'm hoping that I can at least weigh in when in March
Did
the retreat is.
Doriana's not include you in the,
I didn't see it, but I always hesitate to say things with great certainty, but I didn't see it. But in case I'm not on that one, I might be on it, and I
you
don't
are on
recall.
that. It was an email
Yeah.
dated January 8th, so look for that. If not, I can forward it to you again.
No, I'll look for it, and then
Yeah, it was a doodle poll.
Doodle, and we need you there. I mean,
yeah.
this would work
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah, and I had a
I blocked out.
feeling. Yep, I had a feeling you would do it before spring break, just because of the nature of it being spring break. But other than that, I'm around the whole month, so I'll go in and look for the doodle poll. But maybe it landed in my spam. I'll look.
I blocked out. I said I wasn't available during the entirety of spring break because we usually go out of town. We usually go somewhere. So hopefully,
I'm looking at the doodle poll right now, and it was myself, Dorianis, Karen, Catherine, Linda, Lisa, and Fred all responded. And I'm not seeing a single date that worked for everybody. But okay, I'll touch base with Dorianis and see.
Kelly, the only dates that I've blocked out were in March, and they were over spring break, or that I said I wasn't available.
Yeah,
So that would be the same as Carla.
yeah. Okay, moving on. Head of School Evaluation Committee, you want to give an update, Fred, on
Yeah,
polls and all
we're
that?
getting great response from the poll. So I want to encourage all the GC members, please do. We need 100% of GC members to complete that. If you have any problem with it, please let me know. But if you could do it this week, I'd really appreciate it if you haven't already completed it. And I know several of you have, although I can't see names specifically of who's completed. So for anonymity, but please complete it. And now it's time for us to schedule Kelly and Catherine and I think Stephanie, if you're up for it, should look at the results of the things that we got from SurveyMonkey, and then we need to convene groups of people, of students, make it available, ourselves available to students to hear any comments. And we want to make this constructive and really useful. The whole objective of this is to provide useful feedback for our head of school, our superintendent, and not to check a box. And we as a board should use it in terms of our consideration about contract renewal and all of that. So it's important for us. This is not a trivial issue. And Kelly, because you've done this before, I'm gonna ask you to help me figure out
Yeah.
how we convene the various groups.
Well, I
at
think
these meetings.
we have two major tasks. One is to distill all of the survey information into something that's meaningful. And also, something that's very important to the subcommittee is to be sure that all comments that are made, the anonymity is maintained and protected. So we want to go through everything, and we want to be able to produce a report that secures that anonymity, but also gives a very clear, I guess, consensus of what the community is saying with regards to Carla and her job. So we got a lot of work ahead, and I think we'll just be touching base with you, Stephanie and Catherine, and it's taken care of.
Yeah, just to mention, we have a variety of groups. We have the students, we have the parents group, we have the GC, we have the friends from all the folks at the community college, and the suppliers and vendors that interact with Carla. We have the faculty and staff, and so those are the various groups that we polled. And we can divide it by the responses. We can analyze by those groups. So to the extent that's useful. That's where we stand.
Okay, any questions regarding the evaluation committee? Okay. Item 13, open discussion, additional topics or issues from governing council members.
I apologize because I was wandering around the community college campus.
You didn't see my email from this afternoon.
I didn't, I'm sorry. But I missed from head of school, what's the morale like for students? How are the faculty and staff and the students? Carla, can you give us, you probably already did this and I apologize, but I'd love to, how are things going?
Well, for me, I think the lens that I use when that question is asked, because it's a very subjective question to try to make it relevant. We are in compliance, and we're legal, and we're solvent, and that means a lot to me. So we continue to be a safe school. We're very responsive to any concerns that come up. I think if you walked into the main office, you'd see faculty and staff talking and laughing together, eating lunch together, collaborating. I had new teachers sit down with me and say they've never been happier, which that's data for me. Because being a new teacher at TMP, being a new teacher anywhere isn't easy. But I mean, these are not necessarily new to teaching, but teachers new to TMP are very satisfied, and they have talked to me about that. So I would say that is all very good. I mean, I think in my visits with students, they want to be there. So that's a good thing. And then I will be sitting with every faculty and staff member in the next couple months, so that by the end of March, we'll have evaluations finished. Tina and Cheryl have worked on those too, just to say, what's going on, what my questions are. Oh, and I sent you also a follow-up. I copied you on an email I sent to faculty and staff about the questions I'm going to ask overall, just to see where people are, what's helped, what's supported them in their progress towards their goals, what hasn't supported them. I think that I think a highlight is, I think something we've shared, that one of our service project that Norma Moreno has facilitated, which was the most student self-directed project I've ever seen in my teaching career, because I actually subbed for her and sat in the class and watched students just basically do the entire thing without any adult guidance. They created an organizational audit and a survey around a variety of topics, and it was very, very well done, and so well done that the community schools is using. I think you know this piece, and the responses were also very positive. I mean, there were not as many responses as one would like, because then it gets really skewed, because if you get one person that for whatever reason wants to mark something either super positive or super not positive, it skews the findings. But I think we only had one I don't even know where that it was an outlier, but everything else that came out of that survey, from students, parents, guardians, and staff, faculty, really felt like, this is a place where they wanted to be. They felt they had the resources that they need. They felt supported. They felt safe. And those are important things. But I think the most important thing for me, not that I don't care about people's opinions about how happy they are, because happiness is a relative term. I think you wanted to make sure, I'm assuming, that you hired a head of school or somebody who is observing to make sure that we are compliant and we're legal, and that we do our due diligence in doing what we need to do as a public entity with a contract. And all of that is in great shape.
Absolutely. I just want to add, I mean, this is something that's come up recently with SFCC, and I'm sure it's the same with TMP. There's a lot of, insecurities with regards to marginalized groups with this new administration. And, we have at SFCC, we have undocumented students, we have, students of color, we have, students LGBTQ, all of that, and people are feeling really scared. I know today that something was mentioned about using ICE, bringing ICE into schools to round up undocumented immigrants, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think, to let our students know that this is a safe haven for all those marginalized groups is really important to reinforce that as we move forward.
Well, Kelly, that's true, and that's wonderful, but if the president changes the policy on secure areas, safe areas, that could change. Because now schools, hospitals, churches are not supposed to be entered. But that is a policy decision, not a federal law.
Absolutely. Which, I mean, we got these students who are working on service projects. This could be something that they could really research and, talk to the powers that be about making sure that their fellow students are better protected.
I think that, go ahead, Karen.
I can recommend the resources that Somos in Pueblo Unido has. They have a lot of know your rights documents.
Yes.
Great.
They're a great organization to start with.
And I think we might.
What's the name?
Somos Pueblo Unido.
Somos Pueblo.
Somos Pueblo Unido.
Union.
We are Village United, yeah. Something else that I don't know needs to be a big deal, but is that we have a governor who has made it very clear that she will oppose any of these bigoted, egregious attacks on vulnerable people. And she's got chops. So I don't know if there's something that is appropriate to come from us, probably as a board of a district, a school district with a big school, but to let her know that we appreciate her strength and her political vulnerability to speak out about what we are totally committed to, which is the rights of all students. And if at any point she needs people to show up in support of something that she might do to, you know, protect New Mexicans, or I don't know what, I mean, everybody's nervous. I'm nervous. But I think there is something to be said for recognizing who are the powerful voices that we want to be behind, because I think it can come to that. And that I think we as a school district, I appreciate that. I liked hearing that. I'm sorry I wasn't aware. But I guess I'll just put that out there and we'll play it by ear if there's an appropriate time to do that. But I certainly want to be on record that, you know, I would hit the mat on behalf of our vulnerable students.
We all would, so.
We all would. And I think it's good to let the governor know that, you know, she sticks her neck out, people have her back.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that would be appropriate. We'd have to think about it.
We could write a co-signed letter if we wanted to do that. I mean, if that's what we want to do, then, you know, we could draft something.
Just that we have concerns, you know, the verbiage that's coming the first day of a new administration has our students worried, and we want to have their back. And the governor has our back.
Yeah, you know, sadly, a friend of our, well, it's a friend of ours, but also the daughter of one of the women who cleans our houses. We're friends with the whole family, and their 9-year-old daughter is terrified because of it. She's 9.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've heard all these stories, and I didn't want to get too far off topic. I just wanted to be sure that we're aware of how our students might be feeling. So be aware of that in the classroom, be aware of that in, you know, in your surroundings. And, you know I have on our doors, we have, you know, indications that these offices here are safe spaces for those individuals. And it's something small, but it's very meaningful to some people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, we are adjourned at 6:16 p.m. Thank you all so much and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Kelly, I'll call you and we'll find a time to finish these minutes up.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, I'll send kind of the summary of what I did because I put it in notes beforehand, and I just
Thank you. I appreciate the help.